Excellent. Thanks, Amy, and thanks for including us. I'm going to play a video that was done a few years back, and it's got some sound. It's about 1.5 minutes long, so we'll let this play. Our famous house reef. We have 8 of these boats. Dives are very close to the resort. Most are within 5 minutes. Some are a little bit farther out than we go in the morning. It's calm. Lots of different accommodation styles. Abandoned sea crates, you can see those pretty much daily under the jetty. We're famous for the massive schools of fish in the salt coral. Amazing food, very elegant setting. All right, well, hopefully everybody's joined, and we'll switch over to the presentation here. And so we'll go over just these quick points just to get you oriented. Talk about where the dive sites are, the type of accommodations we have, our amazing food, the other amenities, and we'll leave time at the end for some Q&A in the comments. So partnering with Ocean First, we have 2 trips coming up. We have one in September, so that's September 18th to 28th, 2026, and there is one male share available. And then we have a second trip, which is filling rapidly in 2027, and that's September 24th to October 4th. So I've been with Wakatobi for over 10 years now, and I was a guest prior to visiting. And so Wakatobi is right in the heart of the Coral Triangle. So you can see it right there. You can see Bali over to the left and where Jakarta is, and the tip of Australia, Darwin there. So there are no direct flights to Bali, but there are lots of connections on any of those, Manila, Hong Kong, Taipei, Jakarta, etc., to get to Wakatobi. And a lot of people stop over in Bali. Bali is a very unique culture. And if you've never been there, it's worth spending 3 or 4 days in the front or back end of the trip for sure. We greet all of our customers before they go through immigration, help them collect their bags, and kind of arrange their documents. And then typically people stay the night in Bali. And then they get on our private charter flight, which goes from the Bali airport to Wakatobi Resort. It's about 2.5 hours. It leaves roughly at 8:30 in the morning. You check in about 6:45, 7 a.m. in the morning. And then you're diving that afternoon. So you arrive at Wakatobi Resort, and you can see our famous house reefs sort of wrapping around there. And just to get you orientated within the Coral Triangle, Wakatobi is obviously that red square there, Philippines at the top, Malaysia all the way out to the Solomons down to the bottom right. And we're in a really unique area. There's no other dive operation for about 450 miles. And we have a collaborative reef program where we lease the reefs from the local people. And we have about 100 local people patrolling, about 20 square miles of reefs around us. And we have 942 different fish species and over 750 types of coral, versus, what we're sort of used to closer to home, which is, about 50 species of fish and 300 in the Red Sea. And Jacques Cousteau spent time in this area and said, Wakatobi Islands are an underwater paradise. So zooming in a little bit more, you see that island of Tomia there, and you can see our airstrip, that gray line. And so that private charter flight lands on that island, and then we get you over to Wakatobi Resort, and you can see about 50 dive sites. Some of these are within, as I mentioned earlier, about 5 minutes of the resort. Some down here, are maybe 35, 40 minutes away, and we get to those early in the morning, and then we dive the ones that are closer to us in the afternoon if the wind picks up. And there's these massive, sets of ocean on either side of us. You can see how deep it is there, 505 meters. And so we get this big movement of water. We don't have big currents, we have some current, but it washes over the reef and keeps them really healthy. We have 8 dive boats, lots of staff to help out. On and off the boat, you can see the ladder there. So we haul your gear on and off of the boat. So it really is, people have said, hey, Wakatobi is really white glove diving, because all you have to do is get yourself to the boat, all your equipment's there, you go diving, and our folks help you get back on the boat. Big area for cameras on each boat. And we also have diving on our house reef before or after our guided diving. So you can just grab a tank and go out on the house reef if you have a buddy or a solo dive certification. These are some images. This would be an example of the house reef. I mean, that's right out in front of the resort. So I'm just going to slowly go through some of these for everyone. This is a famous dive site we have called Blade. Really cool. This big fin goes way deep. And we're really known for the density of life on the reefs. So occasionally we see things like whale sharks or pilot whales. We've even seen orcas. But what people come to Wakatobi for is, this type of scenery, right? Lots of fish, beautiful coral. And we also have, pygmy seahorses, and they're about the size of a grain of rice. I tell people to bring a magnifying glass for sure when they come to Wakatobi, because these are just super tiny. Walt Stearns, our sort of resident photographer, loves taking pictures of things in twos. You'll kind of see that in some of his photography here. 9 different types of clownfish. We get lots of photographers. We have a great photography room, lots of support for that. People can hire a private dive guide if they're real serious and just shoot to their heart's content. Some of these photographers will come and they won't move 20, 30 feet on the reef, and they'll just spend an hour just hovering. The dives are not deep, so we typically kind of average 70 minutes because there's not big current and we're not going deep. Lots of mantis shrimp to see. These are amazing. They're about the size of a quarter. So again, having a magnifying glass is really helpful. These are unbelievable. These orangutan crabs. And I always like when I'm at Wakatobi, you get so focused on the small stuff, but you turn around and all of a sudden there's a huge school of midnight snappers behind you out in the blue. You can see the mandarin fish if you go on our luxury liveaboard. I'll show you that boat. We occasionally see these, like maybe once a year at Wakatobi Resort, so it's nothing that we would say that you would see, but you definitely can see them when you're on the Pelagian. We often do our night dive on Roma on this dive site. Not too deep. Pretty much guaranteed to see these cuttlefish. They're often see them, as you can see here, right at the end of the dive, kind of hovering there. Maybe in 5 to 8 feet of water. I've been on dives where I've seen 10, 11 cuttlefish. We also get a lot of snorkelers. So if folks want to come and snorkel, it's a snorkeling paradise. We have specific snorkel guides, and they often go to just different places than the folks that are diving. Sometimes they're on the same boats as the divers, but with the guide, they're typically in the water about an hour and a half, because we're dropping them right away, and then the divers go in. And as the divers come up and board the boat, then the snorkelers come back, or we go and pick up the snorkelers. So if folks want to come as a snorkeler, it's an amazing destination. We have large groups that just come and pretty much take the whole resort and snorkel. Lots of different options for accommodations. So our most popular accommodations are ocean bungalows, right on the water. They sleep a couple, two folks comfortably. And you can kind of see that's sort of, we call that the longhouse. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but that jetty going out into the waters where the dive boats come up. So a lot of the accommodations are fairly close to the dive center and to the jetty. So it's an easy walk from your accommodations over. Balinese style accommodations. We have a whole woodworking crew. We have about 300 staff for Wakatobi. So some of them are you can see the woodworkers here that have built all this stuff by hand. Everything is air conditioned. You can see that in the upper right. So very comfortable. We have a step down to an outdoor rain shower. And then a beautiful porch overlooking, the sunset, and just an amazing setting. And we also, behind the ocean bungalows, we have our palm bungalows. They're the same size on the inside. They're just a little bit farther back in the palms. And then, we have these villas. The villas are pretty amazing. They come with a private dive guide. They come with a butler service. So we have one attendant who's helping out. We have 4 villas. And, if folks are interested in that sort of service, they can, bring you drinks and food and help you arrange your day. And then we also have our 2-bedroom villas. And these are wonderful for 2 couples or a family. They have their own pool, a little more private, and you can eat in the villa if you want as well. Nice infinity pool overlooking the sea. So I don't want to give the impression that all the accommodations at Wakatobi are this level. We only have 4 of these villas, and we have about 23 other accommodations where I'm not even allowed in this one. Then we have our luxury dive yacht called the Pelagian, and this sleeps 10 guests only in 5 cabins. And this is unique because it docks at Wakatobi. So it's a 7-night sailing Monday to Monday, goes out to some really remote areas, 12, 15, 20 hours away from the resort. And we're the only ones that can dive in these areas because we've charted all these atolls and islands. So you wouldn't see almost not another soul for a week. So you can kind of see Wakatobi Resort there where it says Tomiya. And then depending on the current, the weather, and the tides, we're either going to the inside or outside of the Wakatobi Islands there. And we're going all the way over to the island of Bhutan. This is where we see the, over on the left there is where we see the mandarin fish pairs. And we can do some muck diving over there where a river comes in and creates that nice sandy, flat gravel bottom. We dive off of these tenders. 2 dive guides on the Pelagian, 10 guests max. That's one of the cabins. That's the master cabin on the Pelagian. Great camera room on the boat. And then we have a new type of accommodation, which just opened in June. And these are like a resort within a resort. So they have 4 bedrooms. They have a center pool. They have their own dock, their own private boat, their own private chef, their own private dive guides. So we're finding the people that really enjoy these are just, bringing, maybe a family or, 2 or 3 couples, and they're having all their meals inside the courtyard residence. And, we're finding that it's, some people that maybe don't even dive and they want to come for more of just a luxury tropical vacation. So they're pretty amazing. And so these are also available now. They're just, if people have been to Wakatobi, they're on the north side of the resort past the villas. So if you're looking from the water, they're way over on the left-hand side. And so, as I mentioned, they come with the private dive guides, private boat, unlimited diving, unlimited guided shore diving. If we have wind, kite surfing, they come with spa treatments, complimentary gear for scuba, snorkel, and kite surfing. And then it comes with PADI courses too, and a professional photographer. So if anybody wants to really blow it out, these are pretty amazing. You can see on the bottom right, the 4 bedrooms, and then the center area with the dining. So this is our restaurant. So everything is served buffet style, and we have lots of staff making things. Everything's always hot and delicious. We also do private dining if you're interested. And Indonesian food is a combination, I kind of say, kind of a mix between Thai and Indian. But all of our food is not Indonesian. It's our owners are Swiss. So any food that you would find in a luxury hotel around the world, you can find at Wakatobi. We will actually make whatever you want. So, but I like to go in the kitchen and ask the people, hey, what'd you have for lunch yesterday on your day off? Can you make me that? And it's always something interesting. Because the owners are Swiss, we have great bread, amazing fresh fish, great pastry chef. And then for folks that want to do something before or after the diving, we have stand-up paddle boards, kayaks. We have a brackish cave right near Wakatobi. It's about a 10-minute walk, and you can go down a ladder into a cave, and you can see some endemic fish that live there. There is some walking to do, but most people will swim or stand-up paddleboard for exercise. And this is our jetty, and so people gather there. It faces sort of southwest. Amazing place to watch the sunset and mingle with other guests before dinner. And then on the island, we have a village. A lot of the folks that work at Wakatobi will live in this village, and we do a tour of that once a week. So just to recap, we have the 2026 trip coming up with Ocean First. And I forgot to change this, but there is one mail share available on that trip. And then the trip in 2027 is filling up. And I'll be at ScubaCon, so stop in, say hi at the booth, and we can talk about what is available. So the trip for 2026 is 10 nights, 9 days of diving, 27 guided dives, and then you can dive on your own, before or after. And it does include nitrox, all accommodations, gourmet meals, paddleboards, kayaks, local village tour. Yeah, so that is the Wakatobi overview, Amy. So
amazing. Well, I'm ready to go right now.
yes,
I could pack very quickly and be on my way with no problem at all. Such a beautiful presentation, Bob. Thank you very much. This is really one of our favorite places to visit for obvious reasons. You can see just how lovely the resort is and how amazing the diving is. We did have a couple of questions that came up that just maybe we can review. One of the questions that came up was with regards to like, what's the best time of year to visit Wakatobi? Is there,
yeah. So
you know, a better time?
So the diving doesn't change year round because we don't have a big landmass where rivers would create runoff and cloudy water. So any time of year is amazing to go to Wakatobi. The weather patterns are changing. It used to be that December, January, and February had a little bit more rain, but last January was spectacular. So it's warm, and the water's warm. The water is about 85 degrees from mid-September until July. So the water is great, and then in July the water starts um, getting cooler and goes down to about 77 degrees in August. So and then it starts coming back up in September and goes back to that 84, 85 degrees. So it's also cooler in July and August. So we get a lot of folks, it's interesting, we get a lot of folks from California who love Wakatobi in July and August because it's so hot in California. So they'll come to Wakatobi and they don't mind the water that's a little bit cooler because to them, 78, 77 degrees compared to the Pacific there is nice and toasty.
Right.
So yeah, but you guys always go during a great time. September, October, winds are calm, water's warm, very little rain.
Awesome. Thank you for that. One of the things I really love about Wakatobi is that it is so it is open to both divers and snorkelers alike, and there's equal attention put to both groups. So it makes it such an accessible resort for for a non-diving spouse or partner or a family member or friend or whichever, where everybody can be attended to this at the same level and have the same great experience. So it really opens it up to to have something for everyone. And that's one of our favorite things about this resort. We love it. There are also a lot of other activities for non that are non diving activities. So spa, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So spa services, Indonesian cooking and language classes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards. We do some tours of the local villages. People can go. If you look over in the upper left of that photo, there's a village over there. And so, that's sort of interesting. Not a lot is grown out there, so it's not like, markets you would see in Bali or something like that, but it is interesting. So.
Amazing. And of course, just some of the curiosity is like, where did the name Wakatobi come from? There was a little hint
Yes.
on a previous slide that I know about, but
Yeah.
maybe the rest of our viewers don't.
I'll bring it up here because it is interesting. So the owners of Wakatobi helped create the national park. So the national park, it's massive, but there's the island of Wangi Wangi, Kuala Dupa, Tomia, and Binango, right? So it's Wakatobi. So that's where they came up with the name. And I'll
Okay,
point out also that these are atolls, right? So I didn't
awesome.
mention that, but if just looking at the map here, so we go inside of these atolls, diving from Wakatobi occasionally, and then definitely on the Pelagian.
So now everybody has the trivia question ready for your next group trivia thing. If that ever comes up, now everybody knows the answer to where the name Wakatobi came from. One other quick question that came up earlier in the chat as well was the is it possible to do a resort stay and then buffer that up to a stay on the Pelagian?
Yeah, with and I didn't mention the exact days of the week of our charter flights. They're on Mondays and Fridays. So just twice a week. So guests can stay 3, 4, 7, 10, 11, 14 nights at Wakatobi. The Pelagian is Monday to Monday. So guests could come in for 3 nights prior to the Pelagian, stay at the resort, get over jet lag, enjoy themselves, and then go on the Pelagian, or they can go on the Pelagian and then stay 4 nights after and fly out the following Friday. So I would say that 70% of people do that because the diving is unique on the Pelagian versus around the resort. And most people, having come that far, will add on the front or back.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. And then we had another question, just a quick one with regards to the schedule on the charter flights. So I know they're kind of on a fixed schedule. Can you speak a little bit more about how that schedule works?
Yep. So 95% of guests from the United States will spend the night in Bali the day before the charter flight to the resort. The charter flight is about 2.5 hours. You check in about 6:45 a.m. The charter flight, we feed you breakfast. Charter flight leaves around 8:30. It's our flight, so if we're loading a lot of equipment, it might go out at 9:30. Gets to the resort so that you can have lunch, and then you're diving that afternoon. So at that point, the other folks that are heading back to Bali are getting on the flight. So the flight takes off about 12:30, gets back somewhere around 3:30 back into Bali. And then guests can make international flight reservations after 5:30 p.m. Lots of flights go out throughout the night in Bali. It's sort of almost a 24-hour airport. So you don't necessarily have to spend the night on the way back home when coming back from Wakatobi.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. And then I'm just going to squeeze in one last question because, from what I hear, the food at Wakatobi is legendary.
You can almost go there on an eating vacation. It is just unbelievable. I mean, we have a supply ship that we bring back and forth once a week. I'll go back to that other slide, but here's Wakatobi over on the right, and you see Bhutan where those 2 dive flags are over there. And so our supply ship goes back over there and gets supplies. And we're also flying in our own brand of coffee. We have organic farms on Bali that grow all of our vegetables. We make our own ice cream. We have an amazing pastry chef. We're doing sushi a couple nights a week. We have a food cart where we do some sort of Asian cuisine, whether it's a Hong Kong noodle dish or something Vietnamese every night. So yeah, the food is just unbelievable. So yes.
All right. So for all of you who are thinking about going, just prepare yourself. You might want to think about slimming down beforehand in anticipation. Well, Bob, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you very, very much. I'm very grateful for you spending the time with us tonight.